The stars had been quiet for thousands of years. Then one night in the far edge of the galaxy, silence broke. A deep sound, slow, cold and steady, echoed through the black space. It was not a natural wave. It was a message. Every 10 seconds, a pulse of light crossed the stars. Only one line came through, repeating again and again, "Do not test humanity." At first, the Galactic Council thought it was a joke, a signal lost from an old probe. But when the same message reached every world, every moon, and every satellite across the known galaxy, they began to worry. The Council gathered in their great hall, a shining city that floated above the clouds of Cathora Prime. Around a giant table of crystal sat the most powerful races of the galaxy, the Serathi, the Zul, the Valen, and many others. Their empires had lasted for millions of years. They had seen stars born and die. They believed nothing could surprise them anymore. But that voice, that warning, it was different. It carried something inside it, something ancient, something human. Council leader Vekar, a tall being with silver skin and burning eyes, rose from his seat. "Humanity," he said, almost laughing. "That name belongs to dust. They destroyed themselves before we learned to fly." Another voice spoke, an old scholar named Saru. His voice shook as he stood. "No, Council leader, not dust. Records show they were among the first explorers. They built machines before our ancestors walked. Some say they vanished, not by war, but by choice." The hall fell silent. Vekar frowned. Even if they lived, why send this message now? Why threaten us? The old scholar looked down at his notes, his long fingers trembling. The message came from the edge of the milky spiral, near a system once called Sol. Every being in the room turned their eyes toward the star map. The Sol system, a dead zone. No signals, no life. Only ruins from a forgotten age. A young officer spoke quietly, breaking the silence. "Should we investigate, Council leader?" Vekar nodded. "Yes, send a fleet. I want proof that this is nothing more than old human trash. We are the rulers of this galaxy. No one warns us." 3 weeks later, 12 massive warships left the Cathora docks. Their engines burned bright blue as they crossed the void, heading for the ancient solar system. The journey took months, but to the Council, patience meant power. As the fleet neared Mars, scanners began to fail. Static filled their screens. Commander Vekar stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the red planet through the wide viewing glass. "Dead world," he muttered. "Just as I said," but something glowed on the surface. A faint light, pulsing slowly like a heartbeat. Vekar sent a team down. The landing craft touched the dusty ground, near what looked like a black tower half buried in sand. The structure was smooth, made from a material no scanner could identify. The soldiers approached carefully. There were markings carved into the base, letters, old Earth letters. None of the aliens could read them, but the translation computer began to decode. It displayed one word: remember. One of the soldiers, curious, reached out and touched the monument. The moment his hand met the black stone, the sky turned white. Every ship in orbit went dark. Systems failed, alarms screamed, lights died. When the power returned seconds later, the landing team was gone. Not dead, gone. No trace, no signal, no bodies. Then the message returned, not through space, but through every ship's speakers. The same cold human voice, clear as crystal. "Do not test humanity." Vekar froze. The voice felt alive, not a recording. It knew they were there. "Who is speaking?" he shouted. "Identify yourself." No answer, only silence. And then, from behind Mars, something moved. A ship, large, black and quiet as a shadow, drifted into view. It was unlike anything the Council had ever seen. Smooth metal. No engines, no lights, yet it moved with purpose. The alien sensors couldn't scan it. No energy reading, no life, but the design, the symbols on its hull, they matched the old human patterns found in forgotten ruins. The voice spoke again, now deeper, closer. "You were warned once." Vekar stepped back, fear finally breaking his pride. What are you?" he whispered. The dark ship stayed silent for a moment. Then one final word came, "Observers." Before anyone could react, the ship vanished. Not by speed, it simply blinked out of existence, leaving only empty space. The fleet hung in orbit, stunned. The warning signal faded, leaving the void silent once more. But every sensor across the galaxy recorded one last pulse, a single flash from the direction of Earth. Somewhere beneath that silent planet's surface, something had awakened. For weeks, the Galactic Council said nothing about the Mars incident. The story was buried, hidden from the public. The lost soldiers were called heroes of exploration. But deep down, everyone in power knew the truth. Something beyond reason had spoken to them, yet pride is a dangerous thing. Council leader Vekar could not accept defeat. His reputation, his rule, his pride, all stood above truth. He refused to believe an ancient human ghost had the power to threaten his fleets. Inside the high chamber of the council, Vekar spoke before hundreds of leaders. His voice was strong, but his eyes showed a hint of fear. "We are the greatest power this galaxy has ever seen," he declared. "No dead race will scare us with old recordings. Humanity is gone. Their world is silent. We will prove it." Gasps filled the chamber. Some warned him to stop. Others, filled with arrogance, agreed. Soon the decision was made. A second expedition, larger and more prepared, would be sent to the Sol system. This time, not to explore, but to conquer. 10 colossal ships left the Cathora docks, carrying thousands of soldiers, drones, and weapons designed to crush planets. Their target, Earth, Commander Vekar, stood at the bridge once again. His pride burned hotter than his fear. The stars glowed outside the viewing glass, endless and cold. He whispered, "Let them speak again. Let them threaten me once more. I will answer with fire." But his second-in-command, Captain Rel, looked uneasy. "Sir," she said quietly, "the First Fleet, it didn't just vanish. Their data logs showed something strange, a presence inside their ships before they lost contact." Vekar didn't even turn to face her. "Presence?" he said coldly. "You mean fear? Don't bring ghosts onto my bridge." When the fleet reached the Sol system, space itself seemed heavier. The light dimmed, as if the stars were watching them. The sensors worked, but only barely. They showed faint signals from old satellites, human designs thousands of years old, still orbiting the dead planet. Vekar ordered the ships to scan Earth. The surface showed cities, broken, buried under sand and ash. No life signs. But in the middle of the old Atlantic Ocean, something massive rested beneath the waves, a structure, metallic, circular, and glowing faintly blue. It was still active. "Bring it up," Vekar commanded. "I want to see it." Gigantic claws from orbiting drones reached down into the ocean, pulling the structure from the deep. Water fell like rain through the clouds as the round object rose into the air. It was huge, like a moon made of black metal. As the water dripped away, the symbols appeared on its surface, same as the ones found on Mars, and just like before, one single word glowed across its side. "Remember?" The word pulsed once. Twice, then stopped. Suddenly every screen in every ship went white. A voice, calm, human and cold, filled the air. "You came again." Vekar froze. The bridge crew looked at each other, terrified. The voice continued, echoing like thunder. "You were warned. You ignored. You forgot." The floating structure cracked open. Inside it, something began to rise, a ship black as night, older than any known design. It was the same shape seen near Mars, the Ark of Terror. Vekar shouted, "Arm weapons! Destroy it!" Hundreds of plasma cannons fired. Missiles streaked across space, but every blast disappeared before it hit. The energy bent around the Ark like light through water. The Ark didn't move, didn't fight back. It simply watched. Then the voice returned, deeper now, filled with sorrow. "You do not understand. You test what was once kind." Suddenly, the entire fleet lost power. Lights died. Engines froze. Gravity failed. Soldiers screamed as they floated in silence. Vekar shouted, trying to restore command, but no one could hear him. His screen flickered once, then showed a single image, the planet Earth glowing faintly. its continents shifting as though something beneath was moving. Then, every ship's computer burned with one message, repeating endlessly, "Do not test humanity." The power came back. Alarms screamed. The fleet drifted in confusion. And then, from the darkness, the Ark moved. It passed between the alien ships like a ghost, leaving trails of light behind it. One by one, the ships began to vanish. Not explode, not burn, just disappear, leaving empty space where they once were. Vekar watched in horror as his mighty fleet vanished before his eyes. His voice broke for the first time. "What are you?" he whispered. The voice replied softly, "We were the beginning, and we will be the end if you make us." Then the Ark vanished again, silent, gone, leaving only Vekar's ship drifting alone above the earth. When the system stabilized, there were no stars. The galaxy map showed nothing, as if the stars themselves had turned off. Captain Rel trembled. "Sir, the stars, they're gone." Vekar looked out the window. The darkness was endless. He whispered to himself, "No, not gone, hidden, they're showing us what comes next." And from deep within the void, a faint pulse began again, the same signal as before, growing louder. "Do not test humanity." For 7 long days, Commander Vekar's ship drifted alone in the silent darkness. No signal, no stars, no other ships, only endless blackness. The system showed they were still in the Sol system, but outside the viewing glass, there was nothing. No planets, no sun, no light. Captain Rel stood beside Vekar. Her face was pale, her voice weak. "Sir, it's as if space itself has turned off." Vekar didn't answer. His pride had melted away, replaced by something he had never known before, fear. Then a soft beeping sound broke the silence. The radar showed movement, many signals. Dozens, hundreds, ships. They appeared out of nowhere, dark, silent and massive. Some looked human in shape, but others were strange, old, like ancient designs from forgotten ages. They surrounded Vekar's ship in perfect formation. No lights, no engines, no life signs, Rel whispered. "It's a fleet." Vekar nodded slowly. "A ghost fleet." And then a voice came through the speakers. "Calm, human. You did not listen." Every screen on the ship flashed white. Words appeared, glowing, fading, repeating. "This is your second warning," Vekar shouted. "Who are you? Show yourself." No answer. Only the hum of the engines that weren't running. Then one of the ghost ships moved. It came closer, smooth, black, silent. The same design as before. The Ark of Terror. It stopped only a few kilometers away, facing them like a predator studying its prey. Vekar stared at it, his hands shaking. "Prepare weapons," he ordered quietly. Rel hesitated. "Sir, if this is humanity, maybe we should not—" "Fire!" The cannons lit up, throwing plasma into the dark. The shots hit the Ark and vanished, swallowed by an invisible shield. Not even a spark escaped. Then the Ark spoke again. Violence again. Pride again. A blue light spread from the Ark, touching every ship around it, the ghost fleet. Suddenly, the silent ships came alive. Their engines glowed faintly, and one by one they turned to face Vekar's vessel. Each ship was different. Some looked human, some alien, some like designs from races long gone. But they all moved together, as if controlled by one mind. Rel gasped. "They're not alive." "They're controlled," the voice replied, calm but firm. "They are what remains." A flash filled the bridge. Every screen displayed a vision. Earth, millions of years ago. Human cities filled with light and energy. Then came war, fire, silence. But instead of dying, humanity vanished. Their cities turned into ships. Their minds became part of something greater, a network that stretched across time itself. They became the Watchers of the Void, eternal, unseen, waiting. The vision faded. Vekar fell to his knees. You became this?" The voice spoke softly. "We became what you forced us to be. We wanted peace. You brought war. We offered silence. You demanded answers. Now we offer warning." The ghost fleet began to move. The Ark's engines pulsed once, and the darkness around them shifted. Stars returned. glowing bright as if nothing had happened, but not all stars, and some were missing. Burned out. Hell checked the scanners and gasped. "Sir, those are Council worlds." "They're gone." Vekar's face turned white. "No, impossible," the Ark replied. "They fired on our planet." We answered. Silence filled the bridge. Vekar finally spoke, his voice broken. "You can't destroy whole worlds." "There were billions," the voice interrupted. "We did not destroy, we erased. They will never remember they existed." The words cut through the air like ice. Then, for the first time, the Ark's lights dimmed. The voice softened, almost human, almost sad. "You still have a choice. Leave this system. Do not return. Warn the others." The ghost fleet started to fade, one ship at a time. They dissolved into light, vanishing back into the void. Rel turned to Vekar. "What do we do?" He stood silently for a long moment, then said, "We go back. We tell them humanity is not dead." But as the last ghost ship disappeared, a final message appeared on the main screen. Words written in human letters: "Test us again, and the stars will go dark." The fleet's engines restarted on their own. The course was already set, back to the Galactic Council's capital. As they left the Sol system, Rel looked one last time at Earth. It looked peaceful, blue, calm, but she could feel eyes watching from the dark, not eyes of hatred, eyes of warning, eyes that remembered everything. The galaxy had changed. Rumors spread faster than light, whispers of a ghost fleet, of a voice that came from the edge of time, warning all who dared to challenge it. Some called it a myth, some called it a curse, but a few believed the truth, that the humans had returned. Among those few was a young historian named Taran Vallis. He was not a soldier, not a leader, just a curious mind who loved old stories. While others feared the name Humanity, Taran searched for it. He spent his nights in the deep archives of Cathora Prime, reading forgotten records from before the Council's rise. Dust-covered tablets, cracked digital drives, and old human data recovered from ruins. Most were destroyed, sealed by the Council long ago, but one name appeared again and again: the Watcher of Ages. The record spoke of an entity older than any known species, a being that saw the birth and death of stars. Some said it was a machine, some said it was a mind spread across galaxies, and some said it was human. Taran's heart raced every time he read the name. He felt it calling to him. One night, while searching through forbidden archives, Taran discovered something shocking. A file hidden deep in the Council's memory banks. It was encrypted under the label Project Terra Ascend. It took hours to open. When it did, he found images, real, not myth. Humans, standing tall, smiling, building cities among the stars. And then, war, fire, silence. The final image showed a massive structure floating above Earth, a ring of light and metal. A caption beneath it read, "The Ascension Gate, humanity's final step." Taran whispered to himself. They didn't die. They changed. He realized what the Watcher of Ages truly was, not one being, but all of them. Humanity had uploaded their minds, their memories, and their souls into the stars. They had become one, an eternal network of thought and energy, living beyond time. The oldest entity in the galaxy was humanity itself. The next day, Taran tried to bring his discovery to the Council. He entered the Grand Chamber carrying the old data crystal. "Leaders of the galaxy," he said boldly, "I know what the Watcher is. I know who sent the warnings." The Council members stared at him, unimpressed. Vekar sat at the center, pale and quiet since his return from Earth. He no longer spoke much, but his eyes burned with hidden fear. Taran continued, "The humans didn't vanish. They became something greater. A living mind that watches over everything. They are not our enemy. They are our beginning." Murmurs filled the chamber. Some laughed. Others looked afraid. One counselor slammed the table. "You dare speak this madness here? Those ghosts destroyed worlds." Taran shook his head. "No, they erased the ones who attacked first. They warned us. We didn't listen." Vekar finally stood. His voice was calm but heavy. "You speak like you know them, boy. But you don't. You didn't see what I saw. Entire fleets vanished like smoke. Whole world's gone. You call that mercy? Taran met his eyes. Maybe they showed you what they wanted you to see. Maybe it was a lesson, not revenge. The council roared with anger. Guards stepped forward to arrest him, but before they could, every screen in the chamber flickered. The lights dimmed. The air grew cold. A voice echoed through the hall, the same deep human voice that had haunted Vekar. Enough! The guards froze. The council went silent. The voice continued. We offered peace. You answered with pride. You fear what you do not understand. Then the chamber's center filled with light. A holographic figure appeared, tall, human-shaped, glowing faintly blue. Its face was calm, almost gentle. We are the Watcher of Ages, it said. We are what remains of those you call humans. We have seen your fear. We have seen your wars. And we remember. Taran stepped forward, trembling. Why return now? The figure looked at him. Because the balance is broken. The Council has awakened old forces that were meant to sleep. We must act, or all life will end. Vekar tried to speak, but his words faded as the figure turned toward him. You were warned twice, Vekar of Cathora. This is your final warning. The light flickered, and the figure vanished. The council hall erupted in chaos. Some shouted to prepare for war. Others begged for peace. But Taran stood still, watching the last flicker of blue light fade into the air. He whispered softly to himself, They're not our enemy. They're our mirror. That night Taran left Cathora. He stole a small scout ship and set course for the Sol system. He needed answers, not from the Council but from humanity itself, as his ship disappeared into the stars. A faint signal echoed through space just like before, calm, rhythmic, and endless. Do not test humanity, but this time Taran smiled. He whispered, I'm not testing you. I'm coming to find you. And with that, his ship vanished into the dark, heading straight for Earth. For months, silence ruled the stars. The Galactic Council tried to pretend nothing had happened, but fear had already spread across their worlds. Trade stopped. Travel ended. Whole colonies shut down their communication arrays. Afraid to attract attention from the Watchers, the name people now whispered instead of humans, and far from the Council's reach, the young historian Taran Vallis continued his journey through the void. His small ship drifted through the solar system, past broken satellites, dead moons, and floating ruins that once carried human pride. He had not slept in days. His food was gone, his energy low, but he didn't stop. Something inside him kept pushing, a voice soft and distant calling him forward. Finally, his ship reached Earth. The planet looked calm, covered in oceans and clouds. From orbit it seemed empty, but as he descended through the atmosphere, his scanners went wild, hidden signals, energy fields, and unknown materials deep beneath the surface. This world isn't dead, he whispered. It's waiting. Meanwhile, on the other side of the galaxy, chaos filled the Council's main chamber. Reports arrived from border colonies, ships disappearing, stars flickering, strange energy signatures forming around Earth. Council leader Vekar stood at the center, his voice sharp and proud. They are rebuilding. We cannot wait any longer. If we strike first, we can end this. Some council members begged for peace, but their voices were drowned in fear. The council voted, and Vekar's order was given. 1,000 warships, the largest fleet in history, began their journey to Earth. Taran's ship hovered above the Atlantic Ocean. Below him, the sea glowed faintly blue. He turned on the recorder, whispering his thoughts for the last time. If this is the end, let it be known that we were warned. Humanity was never gone. They became something beyond us, and we refused to understand. Before he could say more, the ocean below split open. A blinding light erupted from the deep. The water rose high into the air as a massive structure emerged, miles wide, made of metal and light. Towers reached toward the sky. Giant platforms unfolded like wings. From within that rising city came ships, thousands of them, sleek, silent, silver, each one glowing with ancient human symbols. Taran's ship shook under the force. He stared in awe. "By the stars," he whispered. "They're waking up." Moments later, the sky tore apart. The Council fleet arrived, huge warships filling Earth's orbit like a storm of metal. The dark side of the planet lit up from their engines. Commander Vekar's voice echoed across every channel. "This is Vekar of the Galactic Council. Humanity, or whatever you are, surrender now. We will not be warned again." No response. Then, one by one, the human ships lifted from the ocean and atmosphere, forming perfect lines above the planet. Their formation was calm, silent, like soldiers waiting for permission to breathe. From the center of the fleet, a single ship moved forward. The same black vessel known as the Ark of Terror. A voice filled the air, not through the radio, but through every ship's system, every mind in the fleet. "We offered peace. You brought war. We asked for silence. You answered with fire. Now we return, not as conquerors, but as reminders." The human fleet spread out, their ships glowing brighter. Energy fields formed between them, creating a massive barrier around Earth, a shield that shimmered like liquid light. Vekar roared, "Fire everything!" The Council fleet opened fire, plasma cannons, missiles, energy beams, a storm of destruction. The sky burned, space trembled, but the human shield absorbed it all. Not one shot reached the surface. Then the light changed, turning gold. The human voice spoke again, calm and final. "This is your last mistake." Every weapon in the Council's fleet stopped working. Systems shut down. Engines died. Ships drifted helplessly through space. Taran's ship floated among them, his eyes wide. He saw everything. The might of a reborn humanity. Then, from Earth's surface, beams of light rose into the sky, touching each human ship. The fleet began to transform, their metal glowing, their shapes shifting, merging together into a single massive form that covered half the planet. It was not a weapon. It was a gate, the Ascension Gate reborn. Vekar stared at it from his powerless ship, whispering in fear, "What? What are they doing?" The voice answered him, calm and low. "We are returning to our purpose, to protect what remains, to watch what grows. We warned you, and now we will remember you." A wave of white light spread from the gate, passing through every Council ship. One by one, their systems wiped clean, their memories of war erased, their records gone, their pride silenced. When the light faded, the Council fleet found themselves drifting far from Earth, alive, but powerless. Below them, Earth glowed once more, blue, calm and full of light. Taran, still in orbit, whispered, "You didn't destroy them. You spared them." The voice answered softly, "We do not destroy life, Taran Valis. We guide it. Even the proud must learn humility." And with that, the light around Earth faded. The human fleet dissolved into the air, gone again, like ghosts returning to their sleep. As Taran's ship orbited above the silent planet, he recorded one final message. "They came not to rule, but to remind us. Humanity was never gone. They were waiting, watching, protecting the stars from us and from themselves." Then, for the first time in 1,000 years, the stars over Earth shined brighter than ever. The galaxy burned. Not with fire, but with fear. News of the Council's defeat spread to every corner of known space. 1,000 races, 1,000 worlds, all heard the same story. The fleet that went to destroy humanity never returned the same. They came back with no memory of war, no records of battle, and no weapons that worked. But they all remembered one thing: the voice. The calm human voice that said, "You were warned." For the first time in galactic history, the Council fell silent. No orders, no meetings, no pride, only fear. In a quiet station orbiting the dying star of Neros, Taran Valis watched the reports in disbelief. He had returned from Earth, but the memory of what he saw never left him. The Ascension Gate, the shining human fleet, the mercy of the Watchers. He whispered to himself, "They could have ended us." But they didn't. Then his screen flickered. An emergency broadcast filled the room. The face of Council Leader Vekar appeared, pale, shaken, almost hollow. "They're coming," he said, his voice trembling. "Human ships have been seen near the core systems. Whole fleets of light, moving without engines. They are not attacking, but they are watching us." Taran's heart stopped. "They're not invading," he said softly. "They're judging." Days later, the first of the judgment fleets arrived. Massive human vessels appeared above key worlds, silent, floating golden light shining from their hulls. They didn't fire. They didn't speak. They simply watched. When the leaders of those worlds tried to hide their crimes, corruption, slavery, conquest, the ships acted. A single beam of white light struck the ground. No explosion, no fire. But when the light faded, the cities were empty and the people gone. Not dead. Erased, their names vanished from records. Their existence deleted from time. It was as if they had never lived. The galaxy panicked. Armies prepared for war again, but their weapons refused to work. Every system that tried to resist found itself powerless. Engines dead, energy drained, communications silent. From above, the human voice returned, echoing through every channel. "You built empires on fear. You ruled through pride. You forgot where you came from." Then a second voice joined it, softer, warmer, as if thousands spoke together as one. "We do not seek to destroy. We seek to remind. On dozens of planets, the human fleets descended, not to kill, but to cleanse. Polluted oceans became blue again. Broken moons healed. Stars reignited. It was judgment and mercy both at once." Back on Cathora Prime, Vekar stood on the balcony of the Council Tower, staring up at the sky. A golden ship hung above the planet, silent, like a sun frozen in place. Captain Rel stood beside him, whispering, "They're not here for blood. They're here for truth." Vekar shook his head, his pride finally breaking. "I spent my life trying to prove we were greater than them," he said softly. "But they were never our enemy. We were our own." Then a bright light surrounded the tower. A human figure appeared before them, tall, glowing, calm. Its eyes were made of light, its voice smooth and sorrowful. "Vekar of Cathora," it said. "You led the war. You were warned, and still you struck." "Why?" Vekar fell to his knees. "Because I was afraid. Afraid of you." The being looked at him with something that felt like pity. "Fear is the first lesson. You have now learned the second, understanding." The light faded. The being vanished. And when Vekar looked up, the golden ship above the planet was gone. For the first time in his life he felt peace. Across the stars, the human fleets finished their work. They restored what was broken, erased what was corrupt, and disappeared once again into the dark between galaxies. Only one fleet remained, near the edge of the void. Taran stood aboard one of their ships, staring out into the glowing horizon. A voice spoke beside him, gentle, almost human. "You sought us when others feared." "Why?" Taran smiled faintly. "Because I believed the stories. I believed humanity couldn't just vanish." "You became something greater," the voice replied. "We are what you will become if you learn." Taran looked out the window. The stars shimmered like living eyes. "Then why do you still hide?" he asked. "Because the galaxy is not ready. When it remembers who it is, we will return." The ship began to fade into the light. Taran felt weightless, calm. He didn't know if he was dying or ascending. But one last sentence echoed in his mind, the same message that began it all: "Do not test humanity." When the light faded, only the stars remained, brighter, purer, peaceful. The galaxy was quiet once again. But this time the silence was not empty, it was a promise that the Watchers still guarded the stars, and that humanity, though unseen, was watching and waiting. The galaxy was silent once more. The human fleets had vanished back into the void, leaving behind only stories, repaired worlds, and a lingering light that glowed softly in every night sky. For the first time in ages, there was peace. But it was not the peace of victory, it was the peace of understanding. The great empires stopped their wars. Worlds that once competed began to rebuild together. And everywhere people whispered the same name with respect and fear: humanity. The Watchers of the Stars. Taran Vallis sat alone in the observation chamber of a quiet outpost orbiting the planet Virela, the last station still active near the galactic rim. He stared out the window, watching the stars slowly move past. Each light reminded him of Earth, of that blue world that had changed everything. He had seen what no one else believed, the rise of humanity, their mercy, their power. But what haunted him most was their silence. No message, no command, no rule, only a lesson. He began recording his final journal entry, the one he hoped would survive after he was gone. "My name is Taran Vallis," he said softly. "I have seen what lies beyond the edge of fear. I have seen humanity return, not as conquerors, but as guardians." He paused, his eyes on the glowing nebula outside. "They warned us long ago, do not test humanity. But we did not listen. We thought they were gone, but they were only waiting, evolving into something the galaxy could not understand." His voice trembled. "They didn't destroy us because destruction is easy. They spared us because mercy is harder. And maybe that is their final lesson." Far beyond the station, the stars began to shimmer strangely. A familiar hum filled the air, deep, soft, almost like a heartbeat. Taran turned toward the window. Out in the dark, a single beam of golden light appeared, cutting through the void. He recognized it instantly. "The Watchers," he whispered. The light grew brighter until it filled the entire chamber. He shielded his eyes, but the glow didn't burn. It felt warm, alive, peaceful. Then a figure appeared inside the light, human-like, but made entirely of energy. It spoke in the same calm tone he had heard before. "Taran Vallis," it said, "you have seen what others could not. Do you understand now why we warned them?" Taran nodded slowly. "Because they weren't ready," the being smiled faintly. "And are they ready now?" Taran looked down at his trembling hands. "Maybe not yet. But they're learning." The being's voice softened. "Then you have fulfilled your purpose." Taran frowned. "My purpose?" The light grew brighter around him. "Every age needs a witness. You were ours." The light faded, and suddenly Taran was standing somewhere else. He was no longer in the station. He stood on a vast field under a golden sky. A vision, or perhaps something beyond death. Before him stretched countless figures made of light, tall, graceful, and human. They watched him quietly, their faces calm, their eyes glowing like stars. One stepped forward, the same voice that had spoken through the void since the beginning. "Humanity is not gone," it said. "We are the memory of creation. We protect what was once ours, not through power but through patience." Taran's eyes filled with tears. "Why show me all this?" "Because the galaxy will forget again," the being said. "And when it does, someone must remember. You will be that memory." The vision faded. Taran was back in his chair, the recording still running. He took a deep breath and spoke his last words. "If anyone finds this message, know that humanity never disappeared. They became something greater, a reminder that power without compassion is destruction, and mercy without strength is empty. The galaxy's greatest lesson wasn't in their warning. It was in their forgiveness." He smiled faintly, his voice breaking. "When you look at the stars, remember, they're not just lights. They're watching. Always watching." The recording ended. Centuries later, explorers found Taran's station drifting at the edge of the void. Inside, they found his journal, still glowing faintly with golden light. They played it, and his voice echoed once more across the stars. The words spread through every world, every people, every home. Do not test humanity, but this time it wasn't a threat. It was a promise. A reminder that somewhere beyond the galaxies, the Watchers still kept guard, and every so often, when a world looked up at the night sky, they swore they could see a faint golden shimmer, a silent ship drifting across the stars, watching, waiting, protecting. Humanity had not vanished into darkness. They had simply stepped beyond it,